so first of all, I'll go through, so you can look at how where you're spending most of your time. And then we'll look at stories that keep you stuck, because I'll talk about mine in relation to my 2 stories that I've been working through over the last probably 8, 10, 11 years since my daughter. And then, even longer than that, but just how it relates to being a mum. And then some tips to help you manage the juggle. And then at the end, I'll share the retreat dates, which is also a great way of being able to prioritize yourself and find time for yourself as well. So I'll share those, which are in September. So first of all, let's start with, and so I have got some notes here. I have got both the notes, but I've also got my screen to share, which I can't share, but I've got in front of me here. So I'll just start off with a little bit about me. So, what is it? 3. So my daughter's 11 and my son's 8. So 3 years ago, my son was diagnosed with autism, and when that happened, I wasn't really happy. I am a PE teacher trained over 20 years ago, and I wasn't particularly happy in my job at all. And I think that just helped to speed up the process of leaving the position and focusing on, I'd actually been doing the wellness coaching for a year, and it just sped up the process of leaving, because I really needed to be there for him during this the process, because it's actually a huge process to have a child diagnosed with additional needs. And it was really time consuming, and also needing to give him the support that he needed, like speech and OT and psychology. And to get those things, the diagnosis probably took about 8 months. But once that happened, just to actually have the process of having him to be able to attend those sessions required me to have sort of more flexibility in my job. So I've been doing casual relief teaching for 3 years now as well, on the side. I sort of gave it away for a bit, but I really enjoy it. I actually really enjoy teaching, women as well as teaching kids. I probably enjoy teaching women more than kids these days. But I also really missed the connection with people who I worked with. And so I really enjoy having both. So now I work one day permanently in a school, teaching grade 5, 6s this year. And so I really enjoy that balance of having that, as well as the coaching, as well as now yin and nidra yoga. So then when my son was diagnosed as well, I realized I needed to make some changes to the way I was living. And one of the main things was rest, that I needed to start to rest more, to be able to give to him. Like, just need so much patience. Like even tonight for this live, maybe 3 years ago, I wouldn't have been really that patient and been able to deal with it. It would have stressed me out, and I would have come on now here being completely stressed because I just didn't know how to deal with that stress of doing both. Whereas now, definitely mindfulness and nidra and yin yoga has helped me to be calmer and more patient with him and around him. So then I did that for the past 3 years. I was doing yoga for over 20 years for just anxiety as well, but then moved into the yin, just love the restorative. Obviously, I enjoyed like exercising in general, but it was like my body doesn't actually need that. It needs the restorative relaxation, especially at nighttime, and just to be able to calm my mind down and start to heal my nervous system from living in stress mode, which I'll get to a bit later on. So then I did my teacher training last year. I did a live Nidra class. I'd been doing it online for 3 years. I did a live last year or the year before and talked to the woman who did it, and it was like, I'm going to do this teacher training. So I did that last year and then started teaching it. And it sort of feels quite natural being a PE teacher and teaching yin and nidra yoga. So it's been great. And then the last, 3 months since COVID-19 is I've been teaching it online. So each Tuesday night I teach it online and upload it into a studio, and the mums in the group can access it from like my portal, but they also access it from the Facebook group, so they can choose either way. And as of this Wednesday night, I start then back live classes here in Geelong. But the thing with the Mind and Body Studio, it means I can people from all over the world can access those online classes now, rather than it was just being Geelong people being able to come along to the class. Even though I know it is so much nicer to actually get along to the classes. But, there might be people living in isolated parts of the world who, they have internet at least. So I'm really glad that I've been able to do that now, is provide that service to other people all over the world. So that's basically my story of where I've got to and what I do now. And definitely the retreat. So the retreat came about as well. Just some mums in the local area saying, I just need some time out. I just want someone to organise it all for me. And I was like, oh, I love that. I love organising. I'll do it. So that's how that came about. And it's been a great, I love doing it, but it's also been great to see the transformation that's happened to all of the mums who have taken part in each of the retreats that I've run. So the next one was in May, and it's been transferred to October, which is fantastic that we can still do it. And then the other one I had booked was for September, which now, coming out of isolation, I'm able to, release the dates and allow people to join that one too, so they can prioritize rest and have someone doing everything for them. So that's my story behind it. So first bit is looking at yourself and realizing that there's a lot going on in our lives, and I think this is an important transition coming out of COVID-19 and having this time away from the busyness to now look at our lives and say, what do we want to continue? So we have 168 hours in a week, and it's like looking at where we're spending all of that time. So I've got this great analogy. It was like a glass jar. And I have got videos of myself showing you the whole analogy back on my YouTube channel. But this, at the moment, I'm not going to show you, I'm just going to explain it. So if you picture the glass jar and you fill this glass jar with sand and water, and that represents the things that fill our time, like housework and scrolling on social media. What else is there? The sand fillers. I don't know. There's just doing things for other people, just running errands. Those things, if we fill up our glass jar with those time filler things, there's actually no room in that glass jar to put our big rocks and our smaller rocks. So if you think about our larger rocks are like our dreams and our well-being and our purpose and our family, our immediate family. There's no room for that. So if we can start with the big rocks first and putting those priorities in first, and then moving down to our smaller rocks, like our work and our hobbies and our friends and our money and our house, and then from that, then put in these other things that fill up our time. So it's now taking a step back and looking at, okay, I was doing all of that sand and water. What do I want to put in there now? What are those priorities that need to be in there? And then fill it up with those smaller rocks, and then make way for the sand and water, which is always going to be there and is just going to fill in the gaps. So I think that's definitely a great time right now to reflect on, because you're probably more aware of what the sand and what the water were in your lives, to be able to now go, okay, we don't want to fill those back into those spaces. So looking at the stories that we hold around this, and I suppose that's the sort of work that I've been doing personally over the past 4 years since I started this business, and looking at the stories that I would tell myself. So one of them was that I'm so busy. So there's sort of two types of people that attracted to the coaching that I do, as well as even my yoga and nidra. And it's busy Betty and guilty grace are the two names that I give these two people that I attract. And so busy Betty is the person who's always busy, who's like, oh, I'm just too busy, I'm so busy, and I have no time for myself. Whereas guilty grace is the person who's just wants to do something for themselves, but knows that they're going to feel guilty about the time or guilty about the money, and putting their children's needs above theirs all the time. And so it's like, which one are you? Are you the busy Betty or are you the guilty grace? And it is, sometimes it's both. I was both, so I'm going to share basically my story of both. So the busy and why. So it's looking at that deeper why. Why do we hold on to those stories? Because obviously I believe those stories, and it's uncovering, and definitely, so I've worked with psychologists, but kinesiologist has been the main thing that I've worked with over the past 12 months, 18 months, to really uncover those stories and looking at energy and how energy works in our lives. So, you know, I was using busyness to feel important. So I didn't have a lot of self-worth. If you met me 10 years ago from my children, before I had children, or even younger than that, just no self-worth. I was told that I was basically useless and I wouldn't amount to very much. And it was like, so the best way to, I suppose, deal with that story was to keep busy and fill my day and fill my time with things that made me feel good, and that to-do list, ticking things off. And also it was around busyness to avoid the negative feelings and uncomfortable feelings. So to move through sadness and to move through the sadness, anger as well, is I would just use busyness, and sometimes I still do. So there are times, that I will use the busyness, and I'll catch myself going, why am I in this ticking, the adrenaline from ticking off the to-do list. So I do have to stop myself, but at least I'm aware of it now and recognize, and definitely that has been Nidra and Yin Yoga have definitely helped me, as well as the kinesiology has helped me to recognize those emotions and help to release them in nicer ways instead of numbing it with maybe alcohol, eating, and the busyness, it's been using healthier alternatives such as Yin Yoga. I can't, it's definitely something that's changed my life, being able to do it and release the emotions that are held in your meridian lines that sort of follow our nervous system. And so by doing these movements and holding them for that period of time, you actually release the chi energy that's held in there, and it holds different emotions. So different times of the year, the different seasons, is when we have different emotions and feel different emotions. So it's pretty powerful. I found it really powerful. But it's finding what it is for you that, so those, I've tried lots of different alternative things, and these have been the two things that I found really powerful and have worked for me, and that's kinesiology and the Yin and Nidra yoga. So that was busyness, my story of busyness. Whereas when it comes to the guilt, it was the guilt of spending money on myself, and definitely by having a business has helped me to move through that guilt and see that what I'm doing is worthwhile and helping other people. So it was definitely around mindset shift and that everything is a choice, and it's not and looking for the evidence that it's not actually reality what you think those stories are. So the guilt around that mothering instinct as well it was definitely out of control. So it was putting my kids first all the time and thinking that was the right thing. Instead, over time I've seen, especially now that my kids are older, that it's the role modeling that you show by prioritizing yourself, going and buying something for yourself or going and doing something for yourself. Just shows your kids how important you really are, as well as themselves. because they already know how important they are, because we prioritize them, but it's like showing them through what we're doing for ourselves as well. So it's looking for those evidence, and the other thing with Nidra and Yin yoga, or any of these sort of styles of yoga, is they use the an intention, so setting in intentions, which are in the positive affirmations and the I am statements, and our brain doesn't realize that, you know, whether a story is, it's just looking for the evidence. So if we can just say I am, your brain starts to believe these stories and believe these statements and affirmations that we're using. And so we state those at the start of Nidra, especially in Nidra, and because you're going into a sleep state, your brain starts to believe these because you're in that sleep state, and you're stating it again at the end. So it's really powerful ways of changing basically these stories. So some questions, and I'll have to read these questions that help me when I'm stuck in that story mode, is like, where does it stem from? So really looking back at, especially the money ones, unraveling why I was feeling guilty, and looking at where does it stem from? Like, was it something that had happened, you know, back, you know, through my own childhood, or through something? But it's always sitting there and writing it down, and then just being curious and waiting for it to sort of come to you why. And it's usually in the shower for me, when those stories that I, you know, allow that time and that and just that clarity will come definitely in moments in the shower. So is it true? Is that story really true? Once you've worked through it, is it true? Do you have evidence of it? And then, is it fear or resistance? Why is that story there? Is it because of fear, or are you being resistant to the change? And then, what do you really want? What do you want from that, from feeling guilty, or what do you want from the busyness? Like I shared, my busyness was to feed my self-worth, and the busyness was also to give me that adrenaline to feel good about myself, and to also not sit in those negative emotions. And what do you need to let go of? So is there something that you need? Is it those could and should? I should be doing this, or I could be doing this. Instead, it's what is it? I should be, or I need to. It's could. I could be doing this, but I'm actually really tired tonight, so I'm not going to do that instead. So it's really looking at the languages that we use. And then it comes down to stress. So stress, and probably one of the things moving for myself into sort of that menopause stage of my life, I've sort of been working with the kinesiologist and a naturopath, and looking at stress and how it impacts myself, and how it impacts your hormones. And obviously, you know, stress, you know, it's like being chased by a lion, at that stress response. So think about your morning, and how many times this morning were you chased by that lion? Did you react as if you were being chased by that lion? You know, rushing to get the lunch boxes ready, rushing to get out the door. Oh, you can't find a shoe, or someone can't find a shoe, and then it's like that stress response is triggered. And, you know, that sympathetic nervous system is switched on and activated when it doesn't really need to be. But if we're constantly doing this over and over, it really, you know, overloads our body. And so it's increasing our adrenaline, it's increasing our cortisol levels, but it's also decreasing our progesterone. And if you're already moving into sort of that perimenopause state, your progesterone levels are actually already decreasing. And so if you're then putting stress on it, it's decreasing even further. And the problem with progesterone lowered levels is it causes us to be really worn out and exhausted. And of course, then by mid-morning, we're grabbing for that sugar craving just to get through and to feel better. So, you know, because our body's trying to redistribute the blood flow to where it needs to, basically to our legs to run away, and our heart, because it needs to be beating fast enough to get away from the stress response. But, it's not going to the reproductive system, which obviously we don't need when we're in stress, and hence why the progesterone is lowered. But it's also the immune system. Your immune system is switched off. We don't need your immune system when you're in that stress mode. And the digestive system. So, you can have that beautiful, healthy breakfast in the morning, but if you're already activating your stress response in your body, your that nice, healthy smoothie or healthy breakfast you've had is not even going to be digested, because the digestive system is switched off when you're in that stress mode. So it's really important that we look at, how we're reacting in the morning and how we're carrying that through for the rest of the day. Oh, hey, Jen. So one of the best analogies that I, heard a couple of years ago was thinking of our bodies, our stress, as our body's the bank account, and stress is the withdrawal from your bank account. So if you're having stress all the time, your body's having that withdrawal taken out constantly, and then it just goes into overdraft. So we need to be thinking about what we're doing to deposit into our bank account, our body. So, some of the things that are like the deposits are doing things for yourself. So I've just finished reading, actually. It was great. Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, the second one, so Beyond it's called. And that has a real emphasis on the hormones and our hormones during these times. But 3 things that it talks about is me time, you time, and we time. So me time is a deposit, but me time is about doing something for yourself. So it's like that self-nurturing activities. So gardening, reading, meditating, learning something new, cooking, exercising, listening to music, dancing, anything that you really enjoy, but that's by yourself. And then whereas the you time is spending time with someone else. And so it's bonding with other people. And it's like those board games, team sports or group activities, like a group that you might go and catch up with, like a mother's group, or like for me, the Mothers of Autistic Kids group, which has been fantastic for me as a supporting group. Or maybe it's like a group class. Like I know, like this morning, I finally got back to going to the gym, and it was so nice to be back with a group of people, that community, that sense of community around you. And I can't wait to get back to my own yoga class, but the yoga class I also go to for myself. I can't wait to do that on Sunday as well. So, we need a bit of both. And I won't go into details about it, but it's around the different hormone levels, which is why you'll crave one more than the other at different times of the month, as well as depending on the activities you've been doing. So if you've been doing a lot of we time, which is caring for other people, your own work or your own family. And so I know that I do attract a lot of people that are teachers and nurses. They're people that are always caring for other people. So they're always doing that we time. And they find it really hard because it's just their nature to be really kind and do things for others, because they get, that boost from doing it. But at the same time, they actually are having an increased amount of progesterone in their body. So they actually really need to be filling their own cup, as you can say, with their me time or you time, depending on where they are in their cycle as well. So it's amazing, all of that part of it as well, and how much that relates to when you'll feel like, oh, I really want to catch up with some people, or it's actually I just want to go and read a book by myself, because it's really is related to our hormones, which is related obviously to our menstrual cycle. And so one of the things in the book as well that I found really interesting was that once we do go through menopause, our cycle then relates to the moon. So that's how important the moon relates. And I suppose by doing yoga, I've always been understood the moon cycle and been attracted to how the moon cycle affects people and kids in particular. But it's interesting how that actually relates. So our then natural body cycle then tunes into the moon when we don't have a menstrual cycle. So it's really important, and it has been for years, like for, centuries, is how things worked and cycles worked. I won't go into detail, but yeah, if I like yin yoga, that part of it, and the cycle of the lights that we're using at nighttime, and how we've actually really affected our rhythms of our natural cycles, is quite amazing, and why we have so many sleep issues as well. But anyway, that's another topic. So basically, it's about looking at finding time for ourselves, but it's really important to give ourselves those times, because the energy that we get, we then bring back to our own family, and it's the universe rewards you when you reward yourself, is something that I suppose I've learned through doing the kinesiologist and also just working with other energy healers over the years, and finding that kinesiology was the one that I've really loved doing. But I do believe that energy is a great way of working with it, and I mean yin yoga is also the same. So it's looking at one that maybe works for you as well. So now let's talk about the last part, which is better managing the juggle. So there's 3 steps. I'm just going to have a drink. 3 parts to better managing the juggle. Sorry, I hope that wasn't too loud. So creating small daily habits. So the one thing that I've started to do, I'm just trying to think. It was before I actually did my wellness coaching through doing PE teaching, and I did a mindfulness course. Gosh, it must have been 8 years ago, and it was fantastic. It was like a whole day or 2 days mindfulness coach, and it was through the school I was working at, and I was just so drawn to it and started doing some of those practices. And over the years, as there's been more research released about it, I've started to increase that in my life, and I've found it has had a phenomenal transformational effect on my life. So mindfulness is just being in the present moment. And so I was a real worrier, always worrying about my kids, about things when they were younger. And the more that I've been practicing, the better I am at not worrying so much. But it is a natural thing, in particular for women as well, to worry more. It's just our innate ability to worry about our kids. It's called the mental load. So also, though, I was also a overthinking everything. So thinking about what had happened in the past as well as the future. So by increasing mindfulness in my life, I have been able to be a lot more present with my own kids, my own family, and other people obviously around me. And so it's bringing mindfulness into the things that you're already doing. So just through my coaching, it's like creating the habits that you already do. It's not putting something brand new and trying to build it in, because it's not going to work. It's finding something you already do and then being mindful around that one thing. So one of the things I think I started with was skincare. So being mindful about when I'm doing it. So at nighttime, just actually really enjoying that process of washing my face, rather than seeing it as a chore, seeing it as a choice that I've made to look after my skin. I mean, even brushing your teeth, because you do that every day, doing that in a mindful way. What was the other? Filling my water bottle, filling water up in a glass was one of the first things that I did. But it's just basically being really thankful for that. Also, it's sort of mindful, but also gratitude, because that way you could increase both of those. So just being mindful about when you're drinking it or drinking a cup of tea, but being grateful when you're filling it up. And that's it. Like it's not creating anything new. You already do these things. It's just taking that time. The other thing was my essential oils. So when I put the essential oils into the bowl, in the past I'd be like, I wouldn't put the ones that were like woody, because they were really slow to come out of the bottle, and I was so busy all the time. I'd be just like, I don't have time for that, and just get something like lemon or orange that comes out quite fast. Whereas now, it's like such a great practice to find the ones that are slow, because then you can be more mindful around it. Driving, you drive every day, so it's like increasing that that mindfulness into your day when you're stopping at the lights, taking a breath and just being mindful about what's maybe around you, walking somewhere, being mindful when you're doing it. So it's something you're already doing and just being mindful around it. So that's the first one. The second one is letting go of the needing to do everything. And so as I talked about before, about the stories about feeling guilty and being busy, it's looking at why. Why are you doing everything? Is there another way of doing it and working smarter, not harder? Are there people that you can help, like ask for help and get some support? Yeah, and just really looking at that internal, why am I doing this? Is this just to make me feel better about myself, the self-worth that's giving me? Or is it about I just need to do this busyness thing to get it done? But just looking at the reason why you're actually doing it. Because I know I would do lots of things that I just do it because it was the better way. For myself, I thought it was the better way to do it. Whereas my husband's volunteering to do it, so letting him do it. So that's number 2. And number 3 is simplifying the way you do things. So, this is probably the thing that I love the most and do a lot of work as like a therapist assistant and helping other people to simplify the way they do things. So for me, like online shopping, I don't need to go to the supermarket. I can just do it online and pick it up at a time that suits me, or otherwise pay for it to be delivered. But I find it's better to go there because it's at a time that suits me. Lost property boxes. So we have these 2 boxes for my kids. It's like they're in the laundry at night. I pull them out and anything that's lying around the house is put in that box. When my kids come and ask me for something, their shoes or whatever, I'm like, okay, go to the box. So they don't now come and ask, they just go look automatically in the box. So I've had those for a couple of years. And the other thing we put in there is their washing. So they drag it down and if it's still full when I want to do more washing, I just tip it on their floor and they hate that. Having a command center, having your routines written out. What is it now? Probably 4 years ago is moving on to a shared calendar between my husband and I. So Life Sorted is the one I've been using. And it just means that he knows what's going on. I don't have to do everything. He knows where the kids might need to be, especially now he's working from home, whereas he was in Melbourne, 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. So he can now sort of see that and maybe even be able to help pick the kids up or take them somewhere if that needs to be, or an appointment for my son. So that has definitely helped, is just to share the load. Delegating, to others, friends offer all the time to help. And, in the past I'd be like, oh no, it's fine, I can do it. But it's like now going, actually, yeah, I do need that help. That would be great if you could drive my daughter and pick her up and bring her back. And what else? Simplify the way. What other ones did I have there? And then just looking at I think one of the other great ones right now is simplifying the way we can do things. And maybe we don't need to be going to, a class. If you can do it online. You can do so much more online now. So looking at those things and using those new ways of doing things, like telehealth. I don't know about you, but that has been fantastic. I did a call with a doctor for my son's script, and it was just over the phone, and it was like 5 minutes. It would have been like, an hour driving there, waiting in the thing. And so there's so many ways now to simplify the way that we do things, and even more so right now. So I hope that those things have helped you, better manage. Also look at maybe the stories that you've been telling yourself about, I'm too busy, or I feel guilty about putting everyone else first, and have given you some ideas of things that you might like to implement in your own life. But if there is, if you are looking for more than that, you're like, yeah, I just want someone to organize a weekend for me, rather than me trying to find, time within my week. I have the Mums Revive Retreat. So it is happening on the 11th, 12th and 13th of September. So it's the weekend before the end of term 3. So term 3 school holidays will happen that following Friday after it's finished. And so it's 2 full nights and pretty much 2 full days. So you can get there at 2 o'clock on the Friday afternoon, and then till 1 o'clock. He's not too fast, Paul, who owns a house. 1 o'clock on the Sunday to leave. So everything is completely organised for you. So all the meals are vegetarian, and any dietary requirements. So one of my main things is to try and make people feel included. Like there's nothing worse than, and it's interesting, like I know Jen and I have had this conversation about going somewhere and feeling like, oh, you're that person who's got this issue and this dietary thing. It's about trying to include everyone to feel included in it, which I think is so important, rather than always feeling like, oh, you're like the hassle to everybody. So it's like just making sure that you can come and you can just enjoy the food, and your needs are going to be met basically, but not to feel any pressure or any just not to feel that need of trying to fit in with everyone else, that everything will be just, dealt with for you. So you don't have to worry about it. It's because it's a chance for you to unwind, relax, and just reconnect with yourself. And so if you've taken that one thing out of your mind and not have to carry that mental overload with you. So these are some of the things that people have said in the past. It was like to remove themselves from the daily grind. It was to drop the mental load. So mental load is like, these were some great ones that I've heard today. So today I went to Melbourne to catch up with a friend. So I've got a really great friend, really close friend that we went to uni with, and she's got cancer. And there was 3 of us who went to see her today. So we haven't seen her since March. But we were just all sharing our mental load. So one mum was sharing how her son doesn't want to go to school and the refusal. And she's like, I had him home for 4 days last week. And it's like, that is that mental load. My daughter has swollen feet at the moment, and we have been working with a nutritionalist. And it's like, this is not working. There's obviously something different. And it was like, okay, what do I do next? Because she's also scared of needles and doesn't want to go to the doctor. So it's like, yeah. Another one was sharing about her son sucking his thumb, and it's like that whole anxiety thing has come back in that way. So it's like those mental things that you think about. And I know my husband's not thinking about those swollen feet. He sort of still didn't even realize how bad they were until yesterday. But, as a mum, you carry those things and you worry about them and you think about, okay, what should I do next? What's the next step? So it's actually allowing you that opportunity to drop that mental load just over that weekend and give you that time and space to just work out. So I can't really share some of these amazing transformations that some of the mums have had, but believe me, like one just blows me away. What she said and shared and wanted to happen, and to see her, it's not quite 12 months, but 12 months later, living out that dream that she said, I don't think this is going to happen for another 5 years, but I'm feeling better about it now that I've shared with a group of, supportive people. But to see her now going, wow, look what you've done. And she said it was, just being able to have that time and space away to really prioritize what she wanted. And then just the motivation to come back and do it. I think that's one of the main things. There is one I think I can share. She, from the first year, and she came back and it was about her self-confidence, and she was like, I'm going to come back, and she revamped her whole wardrobe. She got like a stylist who came in and did her wardrobe, and it was amazing seeing her out at things around Geelong, and just the way she was, just had that self-confidence. That was the first thing. She went out and bought brand new underwear for herself when she returned, and then she got the stylist down the track at about Christmas time, and then makeup as well. It was actually, that was the second thing she did. She went and had a session and got all new makeup and beauty regime stuff for herself. So she hadn't done any of that before. So there's some really amazing stories that have come out from people who have gone away and just given themselves that time. So where was I up to? What else is there? So the food. So there's yoga. So I will share a Nidra yoga on the Friday night. So that's sleep meditation. That'll be like a half an hour, just a great way to relax into the weekend. Then on the Saturday, I'm actually going to do a session with someone else doing Kundalini yoga, which I've been doing, which is really breath work. And it's not, you don't really move. You sit down and it's using your breath. And it's really powerful how it moves a lot of energy. And then I'll do yin yoga, which is more restorative. And so that'll be sort of like an hour session on the Saturday. Then on the Sunday, I have Marie, who's from Nourishing Life, and she's going to be doing a nutrition workshop during breakfast, which will be great. And that's just helping you to give you some breakfast ideas, quick breakfast ideas that a I can't even say it now, nutritious for you as well as quick and easy. And then what else is there? Oh, and so then on the Saturday and the Friday, there's there's the massage and pampering. So Mel from Renew Yourself will be doing the massage on the Friday, and the Saturday so that's the only additional costs that you have over the whole weekend. So rather than include it, which I have in the past, because not everyone wants a massage or the pampering, it's up to you. You can make that choice. It's 45 minutes and it's $80 for 45 minutes. And then the beauty is with Jo from the Skin Hub, and she will do a couple of packages to choose from as well. And then I have Kristen, which is fantastic, doing the jewelry, so resin jewelry, and she'll be there the whole Saturday, and whoever wants to do that can go and do that creative workshop with her. So those three are the only additional costs if you want to take part in those, but everything else is included. There are 2 wellness workshops that I will be running through, and they're around time management things as well. A little bit more about this, but I also sort of survey the people who are coming and just sort of see what they want a feel for. But those 2 sessions, I can also give you a NDIS payment for it, so it can be put under training for carers as well. So that is then $58 can be refunded, and I can do that twice. So it's two workshops, 2 1-hour workshops. And so if you're plan managed or self-managed, so anyone who has a NDIS plan will know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you'll just be like, that's fine. But yeah, so that's one great part of it. So it's $116 you can get back on your NDIS if you have children with a plan, or yourself as well. What was the other part? Anything else? Oh, and then, so it's at Point Road night. So it's just a beautiful setting, and you've got access to the beach, and you can go for a walk whenever you want. The meals are set times, and which has worked the best, and yeah, the massage and beauty have a break in that time as well. Sorry, I'm just going to see if there's anything else. Oh, and so the bonus. So I have a bonus at the moment. So if anyone, so it's $150 deposit right now for the retreat, and then you have 3 months to pay it off. So on the 5th of each month, it'll be another payment, and it's split up. So it depends what you want. So there's 3 options of room. There's a queen size room, there's 2 of those, your own queen size bed, and then there are 2 twin share rooms. So you get a single bed each, and they're pretty roomy, those 2 bedrooms, so that holds 4 people. So that's 6 altogether. And then there's 2 bunk rooms, which I will only take 8 as a maximum anyway. So if there is someone who wants to take the bunk room and it's just by themselves, that's fine. And the other bunk room will just be by themselves as well. Or even if there's 2 friends and they want 1 each, that's fine as well. So the prices for those, so it's ranges, I think, from $525. I think, hang on, I've got the page here so I can open it. So it is $515 for the bunk room, and $525 for the shared, and then the single room is $545. So those prices are there and will go up though at the end of the school holidays if they're not already taken. So the past 2 of the 3 retreats have been filled within 2 weeks, so which is great. So if anyone's interested, you pay the $150 now, and then you can pay them off. The invoice will just be sent to you, and you just pay it, within the 7 days. What else was there? The bonus. So the bonus, if you take up the retreat within the next 48 hours, so by Wednesday, you get 2 bonuses. A one-on-one session with me, which all of the people in the last retreat, I think bar one, got the bonus, and they found it really useful having a call. And for me, it was great to get to know them as well. And then this time though, they also, because I have the Mind and Body online studio, you also get the 4 months access to that up until the retreat as well. So it's all online. You can just go on. I think there's 13 yin yoga sequence, half an hour yin yoga sequences already up there that you can just go and watch whenever you want at any time. Plus there's one live every Tuesday night that I do in the Facebook group. And then there's meditations. I think there's 4 meditations. And then there's also wellness master classes, which I've pre-recorded now, and they're up there. So they're just coaching sessions, and you can go through and do your own coaching basically. And there's a booklet there that follows through to help you with your goals. And then the last bit is masterclasses with other health experts. So as I've talked about, is kinesiologist, naturopath, and then another product that I use as well. It's like they're just herbal drinks, and she's a yoga teacher that I did my yin yoga teaching through, and she just sells them online. So I've had interviews with those people, and they're in there as well. So you can hear a bit more about, because I always get asked, who do you use for your naturopath, or who do you use for this? So it's been great to be able to interview them, and other people be able to share their expertise and why I've worked with those people in the past. So so you get access to that for the 4 months as well for free. And so I think it's like a value of $210, I think, in total. Here, I've got it in front of me. Yeah. Bonus. Yeah, $210 included if you take this up in the next 48 hours. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you got something out of it and take something away that you can implement into your life. And